what really is a business analysis definition, the concept of business analysis really all about. And before we actually have a look at that, I have got an interesting video that I would suggest we all look at. Very important takeaway for us is that, quite contrary to people's perceptions, business analysis is not just about writing user stories, understanding Jira, writing the acceptance test cases, and then actually trying to change the status, and that's all. You're assigning to developers and off you go to the next set of stories. It's not just about grooming the backlog, not just about writing the stories, and then it's not just about attending the refinement sessions. Business analysis in the real practical way for me, according to me, is about owning the products, the processes, and all these things, how we can actually try and facilitate the teams in delivering each of these different aspects that we just discussed. It's not just about the requirements alone. And if we still think that it's all about requirements, I think the role of a business analyst is going to be questionable in these times of agile development. So unless we own the whole process, unless we start delivering much more than just requirements, it would be a big question marks in the next few years. So that's about business analysis. So this is what I would say as the aspect of different types of business analysis. It's not just about one form or one avatar of business analysis. It comes in different shapes, different sizes, and different colors and structures. So that's where I would really classify. I mean, even though BCS or IIB, if you look at it, they don't really try and have the segmentation, but this is more from the Texavi point of view. We kind of created this structure called analyst zone, where we have got these different areas. So you've got a business analysis, and then this is about systems analysis. It's all about the implementation. It's all about technology. It's about how we can work with the teams to make the delivery of the solution, to deliver, not just develop the solution. So again, if you look at it, the problem domain, in terms of understanding the problem, definition of the problem, trying to understand and define the needs, the opportunities, the challenges, the constraints, and so on and so forth. That's one aspect of looking at this as this big spectrum. Whereas on the other end, you've got the solution space. So solution space is all about the how. It's all about the implementation. It's about trying to understand the underlying technologies, the platforms. But problem domain, and that's what the business analysis or the analyst realm comes into picture, is totally different. It's not about the technologies. It's not about the tools. It's about the platform agnostic, technology independent solutions. And that's where we would really come into picture again. We'll talk about each of them in greater detail as we go to the next few sections of the sessions of the course. So that's system analysis for you. And then we've got the next, which is about the process. You've got production, you've got control flow, tasks, operations. So then you again need to understand where the problems are, where is the leakages, where is the waste happening. So that's where we really need to understand the aspects of what is the flow, overall flow, where is the waste, where is the waiting time, if there's a waiting time involved, where is this happening, and how we can cut it down. And that's where we need to ask the questions. This is what I call as the 6 best friends of all of us. We need to check with what it is, the who, why, when, where, and how. So these are the very important questions we should try and ask. And I guarantee you that if you get the answers for these, at least you will have about 30 to 40% of the understanding of the overall system. Then you can try and propose the solutions better. And this is good for anything and everything in this world. So let's try and have a quick look at this in the context of the picture. So let me try and divide this. So we'll have, let's say, I'll call this as what. And then we'll have who. Then we'll have why, when. The order is not important though, but this is just my way of writing in that order. Let me try and use what. The reason why I'm using a green marker is because it's very important for an analyst to understand the what. to start anything with the question what, because it's all about the functionality. It's about the functionality, it's about the features, it's about the things. You need to describe that something as what it is. So that's where we have different things like features, stories, epics. In general, you can just call, I'll say example, in general, we can call it as requirements, not necessarily can have tasks. So I would suggest as business analysts, we all start in understanding anything, given anything. If you are given, for example, a huge system to collect the data about customers and create a customer relationship management system, start with this. If you're given a task of being a team member in a huge enterprise hospitality management system, trying to create a system for all the restaurants and the outlets, I would suggest start with this. It's about what is the thing. It actually also talks about, give the context. So what is the existing context, or rather current context? And then there's another context that we're going to talk about later, which is about the proposed one. So I would suggest you start with the what. Then the most important next is the who. And this is actually about the people. It could be the stakeholders, the customers, it could be the users, it could be the team members, it could be people who are both internal as well as external. Internal, external to the particular product or organization. It could be the usage of the product. It could be anything to do with the people involved. And that's where the who is. Who are going to get affected? Who are the people currently using the product, for the people who are going to use the product in the next few years to come? So it's all about the key stakeholders, that's what we call. So you identify them as stakeholders. So as we discussed, it could be the customers, it could be the users, it could be our team, it could be other stakeholders. It need not necessarily be always about the people. It could be about organizations, bodies, associations, companies, all of this. It's basically a unit. So it could be, for example, the FDA, or Food and Drug Authority of US. It could be the bank SEBI, for instance, of India, which is the controlling body of all the banking and financial services institute. All of those could be the who aspect of it. And then the important thing, other important that you also need to understand is the why. This is actually the kind of a logic, right? It's a logical question. Basically, this is functional. That's about the people. This is about the logical aspect of understanding why we're doing this. What is the rationale? What is the motivation? For example, it could be the motivation of why we are building a product, or the problems with the existing one, or is it because we moved from one technology platform to another technology platform, or is it because some of the competitors already have these features, so we've got to use these as well. So all of these put together is the why. And then when gives you the kind of a context. So it actually gives you the time, duration, schedule, all these things. It could be tasks. It could be the people, the kind of scheduling, for example. Again, could give you the context of when in the life cycle, when in the context of this particular application usage or the user's lifestyle or the workflow. So it could be the workflow. So example, in the context of the workflow of the users, when does that fit in? Is it in the beginning? Is it in the later? Is it driven by an event? Or is it triggered by the scheduler, by something else, by an external thing? So all of these come into the when aspect. And then comes the important things about where. So where is this happening? Where is the supposed application being used currently or going to be used later? So it's about the location. It's about the environment. So it's not just only about the location, it's about the environment. Some people might be carrying these applications, people are on the field. If so, they're on the move. So that in that case, how can we support that? It's not just somebody sitting in front of a computer, but this app is going to be used by, for example, the people who are delivering the Amazon parcels, for instance. So how can we support that? How can we actually support the people on the move? How can we, for example, if in the cold countries, in the winter, it gets really extremely cold. So they might be using gloves all the time. So how can we support this application with usage of gloves, for instance? So all of these need to be thought about in that context, the environment of usage. So it's also about where in the life cycle comes in. So it's basically about the life cycle aspects of where this would really fit in that context of overall usage of the application. And this is the most important thing from the point of view of not the analyst, but the development team. That's how. So how is about the implementation. It's nothing to do with the problem identification, but comes after the problem is identified, or after the problems set are identified, and then they're prioritized, and then they're actually listed in terms of the priority, and then you actually come up with a solution, or a series of solutions, or a list of solutions that would help address the problem at hand. So it's basically about this. And how we as BAs can help in this one is basically by working with the team in recommending, and then in also trying to implement that, the final recommended solution. But never be under the impression that a business analyst is supposedly the owner of a solution recommendation. We are not supposed to be the subject matter experts in terms of developing a solution. Rather, we are the subject matter experts in terms of working with the teams in trying to identify what solution is the best one, best fit, considering all these aspects. And then that's where you would talk about the aspect of the platforms, the technologies, all of these come into picture. But of course, you need to work with them. You need to know all these. You need to be able to actually understand the lingo of the development team so that you can actually try and work with them. So that's where I would say that a business analyst need not be technical, but the business analysts need to be tech savvy. They should be able to understand the technology, understand the lingo, the language, the terms, and also the terminology involved in this. And that's where we need to really position ourselves as BAs. So moving on, I hope this actually kind of sets the whole context for the other things as well. Very important again. So again, we were talking about the experiences. We are talking about delivering products. So we've seen in the previous scenario where we paged out all the applications of business analysis where it could come handy. So in that context, it's not about technology. So the how is just one aspect of it. If you really understand all of these other bits, the what, who, why, when, and where, and all of these things, then how will be falling in place by itself. It need not be, the focus need not be on delivering how, on the implementation, but it's about all of these other things. And that's where Ben Schneiderman, he's the person who actually comes up with this, saying the older computing was about what computers could do. So you're talking about the processor, the CPU, the speed, and all these things. I mean, even when we were young, we were talking about all those things, right? How powerful is my computer? What it can do? It's really fast computer. It has got such a huge RAM, and it has got 2 GB RAM. It can really run these. But are we talking about it now? I mean, in the context of the general usage, I mean, I'm not talking about the infrastructure guys, but then in the context of the general usage, we're not really talking about it now. It's all about what we can do with the application. It's all about the application, the products, the services, and how they're going to help us deliver in terms of the workflow that we have. And that's where we need to reorient our thinking. It's not about technology. It's about how technology would help. Because at the end of the day, technology is just a medium. What is important is what's the end result of that. And then, of course, in the context of agile nowadays, everything is agile. I mean, even the requirements, the business analyst is supposed to be agile nowadays, right? So we're going to discuss that in the next few sessions. It's all about how we can face the change, how we can respond to change, and how we can try and deliver something which is, in a sense, aligned with the change. In fact, the coronavirus, for example, what the kind of lockdown that we have, this is sudden change. Nobody expected this thing to happen. But as businesses, as individuals, as students, as professionals, we all have had a look at the situation, understood the situation, then tried to adapt ourselves to that. Because this is what is the important way that we can try and react to. This is how we can react. We can't be proactive all the time. So we know that this thing happened. So perhaps in the next few years, maybe we are better prepared in a sense to combat these kind of situations. So that's where even the context of products, the services, applications, we need to be continuously developing something. We need to continuously integrate them, and we need to deliver solutions continuously. It's not about, okay, we'll try and work on a project, start it, and then deliver after 2 years. By then, things would have changed, and we'll be in a completely different situation. So it's important that we as business analysts understand this context of the change and how we can react and be able to actually kind of proactively pursue the change. And also the most important thing is about the data. So we've got so many applications, so many kind of different data that are being produced nowadays. Even in terms of number of images that we take, about at least 100 photos per week in our own phone, just on our own, for our own purpose. It's not even on the shared on the networks. I'm talking about our own phones. So think about the kind of, or videos, images, the kind of things that we're reading, the posts, the comments that we're putting on Facebook, the YouTube itself, if you look at it. So all these producing enormous amounts of data, and how we're going to actually try and manage this mess, this kind of madness, is to come up with some kind of method to be able to manage them. And that's where we're looking at some kind of analytics, how we can try and think about, do we need all of them in the first place? Why do we need this data? Why not we just check only this particular data in that sense? And what are the kind of insights that it is really trying to drive? So that's where the analytical aspect, again, the BAs come into picture. So I would say that in a way, this is basically what I would say in the context of a BA. If you try and look at it in this segmented view, that would really give you a better perspective. And I would suggest that the homework today, in fact, we have got a kind of a test or a challenge that we have developed. It's very popular. A lot of people have found it useful to identify what kind of a business analyst you are. So are you a business analyst, strategic business analyst in terms of the interacting with the business stakeholders and doing this? Or are you a technology person, or are you more of a process re-engineering, understanding the processes, identifying the flaws? Or are you more on the front end trying to improve how something looks and feels like? Or are you more of an agile? So there is a challenge that we have created, and that's quite popular. So I'll share that with you. Please have a go at it, and then you don't have to tell us, because the moment you take that, we already know what kind of analyst you are. So it will give you kind of a response at the end of the challenge, and you can identify yourself. So that would be interesting to do.